Hey guys, it's Andrea. Today I'm going to be discussing about Lee Harvey Oswald and the important case theories and evidence surrounding it. I will also be talking about the evaluations done and applying all the information to improve the criminal justice system. And I'm first going to be starting off with some basic information on the case. The assassination of Kennedy that occurred on November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas is one of the most controversial events to ever occur in United States history. This crime has been the most evaluated and scrutinized. There were two government investigative commissions that gave reports based on the assassination. The first one was the Warren Commission in 1964, and the second was the House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1979. The Warren Commission was set up by Lyndon B. Johnson to investigate the assassination, and it was determined that Lee Harvey Oswald carried the plan alone to assassinate Kennedy. After the conclusion from the Warren Commission, it was highly questioned. Some researchers believe that the forensic evidence in the case gives foundation of there being a conspiracy theory behind the assassination. One of the theories suggests that there was indeed a second shooter firing at Kennedy from the grassy knoll in front of the motorcade that Kennedy was in. Since there were so many people skeptical on the assassination, the House Committee on Assassinations was selected by the House of Representatives and released a new report in 1979. The committee declared that Oswald discharged 3 shots at the motorcade from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building. It was also added that there were clues of a conspiracy theory of Oswald not being the only shooter in the assassination. The first shot that was fired at Kennedy completely missed him. The second shot, however, hit Kennedy and the Texas governor, John Connally, who was with Kennedy and his wife Jackie in the motorcade. The second fired shot had its own theory called the single bullet theory, and it was also known as the magic bullet. This theory explains that Kennedy was shot by the same bullet, also hit Connally, who was seated in front of the motorcade. This single bullet hit Kennedy's back and was released through his throat, hitting Connally's back and going through his chest and entering his right wrist, which then got lodged into Connally's left thigh. And the third and final shot was the fatal one to hit Kennedy in the head. The committee declared that Oswald was the only lone shooter in the assassination. Many researchers and theorists believe that Oswald was not the only shooter, and he was part of a scheme to assassinate Kennedy. Some theorists also that have studied the assassination consider that Oswald was involved in a government agency, or he was involved in the Russian or Cuban government. Other individuals have considered that Oswald was framed for the whole assassination, so the real perpetrator could be concealed. Also, other researchers have believed in what the Warren Commission concluded in their report and believed that Oswald was the only shooter. It had been brought up again, time and time again, that if Oswald had survived and went through trial, that he would have been found guilty of the crime. Oswald was unfortunately shot and killed on live television 2 days after the Kennedy assassination by Jack Ruby. He was a nightclub owner who had been known to have connections with organized crime. Since Oswald died before trial was done, there will never be a clear understanding on his motives of the assassination. The Warren Commission explained that there were no definite conclusions as to whether Oswald was sane during the act of the crime and if he would have been competent to stand trial by evaluations by mental health experts. Once the assassination occurred and Oswald was identified, a major investigation went into his background and history. In his early years, he was a juvenile delinquent and went under health evaluations, including treatment. He was emotionally unstable and made bizarre behaviors and activities throughout his life. This gives a great example of the mental health system incorporated into the juvenile justice system. The parents' patriae philosophy is a principle used in the juvenile justice system in a way that the legal system would deal with juvenile delinquents in order to help in reforming them into a better life. The direct meaning of the principle is when the parents of the juvenile are unable or unwilling to provide for their child, the state takes care of them instead. The criminal justice system focuses mainly on reforming juvenile delinquents than punishing them. This is for them to become law-abiding adults. Oswald, growing up, did not have the best youth. Only his mother raised him since his father passed away before he was born in 1939. Due to his mother having to work to make a living, Oswald was placed in an orphanage at 3 years old and stayed there for about 13 months and then was cared for by his mother again. It was difficult for Oswald to have a father figure in his life since his mother's first two husbands died and her third husband got divorced from Oswald's mother. He was taught to take care of himself. He stayed home alone frequently while his mother would be working, which resulted in isolation from children his own age and from the outside world. A clinical psychologist and psychiatrist on the 13-year-old Oswald concluded that he had a personality disorder with passive-aggressive features. With numerous evaluations done to Oswald, it was concluded that he had an average to high intelligence. This drives away thoughts that he had a low intelligence, which he was unable to create a plan and go through with the assassination. Oswald's psychiatric report did not go in detail if whether he was potentially able to commit violent acts, but there was that potential risk due to his diagnosis with his personality disorder, with the passive-aggressive features that were in his mental illness. Another psychological test was done during the evaluation that was being administered to Oswald. This test consisted of drawing a human figure. The features that are in the drawing are then evaluated, and the examiner gives conclusions about the personality of the individual being evaluated, which in this case was Oswald. This type of technique was always controversial in the sense that it would be used in forensic legal settings, since it raises questions on the validity and reliability in rating the features that were drawn on the figure and the assumptions that the examiner makes based off of the drawings. Even with the reports and evaluations that were conducted on Oswald when he was younger, it does not give any compelling evidence to encourage that Oswald was indeed guilty of committing the assassination. There have been researchers that have claimed there to be a syndrome called presidential assassination syndrome. This claims that an individual that targets U.S. presidents are incompetent individuals that use assassination to make up for their wrongdoing. There was a study done in order to figure out whether this was indeed true, and it turned out in the research that individuals that assassinate presidents may have schizophrenia, also anger towards females, and confusion towards who they are as an individual, and also have strong identifications to others that have assassinated other public figures. The most compelling research that has been done on assassins has concluded that dismisses the common idea that there is a syndrome of some sort of psychological rendering that can characterize individuals who have assassinated presidents. With a case study performed by the Secret Service that dealt with attackers and assassins and other individuals that have come in close contact with public figures. There was not really any specific psychological pattern discovered. Instead, individuals that pursued in behavior such as assassinations have been shown to do it for several reasons, but this form of conduct was not the product of any sort of mental illness. When it came to assassinations in this study, it was mainly due to the pattern of thinking and behavior leading up to the crime. The results of the study proposed that even though there was a psychiatric evaluation done on Oswald while he was a child, might have given some clear information on his behavior and personality throughout his life. There was no given pattern back in the early 1950s when he was given the evaluation that would have anticipated his actions in assassinating Kennedy in 1963. With all the issues that Oswald had growing up, his mother did not seem to believe that there was anything wrong with her son, no matter how many times she was informed of it. He was asked to receive therapy and treatment for his mental illnesses, which was ordered by the court. His mother unfortunately refused to think that he needed the care and took him away from the situation by finding ways to not bring Oswald back to court and only making matters progressively worse for him. The determination to keep Oswald from entering a psychiatric institution to help get him back to a way that he would be able to live life normally was drastically missed due to the refusal of his mother. In 1953, the judge ordered for Oswald to attend a facility so he would have been able to receive mandatory treatment. However, Oswald's mother believed that the court was against her son and left to New Orleans to avoid the treatment being given to him. If Oswald would have received the treatment he deserved, then Kennedy's life would have been saved, and history would not have been dramatically transformed the way it did, with this unfortunate and sad event to occur in the history of the United States. For future improvements in the criminal justice system, it would be fairly important to ensure that individuals that are suffering from mental illness that can be a danger to themselves and others are getting proper treatment that is needed for them to function normally in society, which is ordered by the court to do so. However, if this court order were to be placed back in the 1950s when Oswald was younger, he would have had a proper treatment and would not have been a danger to any individuals, including Oswald himself. And that's about it. Thank you guys for watching.